So hey guys, welcome to another Warframe video, and today I want to take a quick glance at the glorious greatness of the Glast Gambit. This update added a lot of new things, so first up we have Nidus, which is an infested Warframe. To get Nidus, you will have to complete the Glast Gambit, which is a quest that starts off in the parent sequence room on a relay. Simply go to the room and talk to the dude right here. And don't worry, that's all I'm going to say about the quest because I don't want to spoil it for you. My first impression of Nidus is pretty damn good. He is a powerful Warframe that can both deal and take a lot of damage. Just like in Arrows, he doesn't have any shields, but he does have quite a bit of health and very high armor. In addition to his beefiness, he regenerates health at a very high rate, and he uses a brand new resource that stacks all the way up to 100, and he generates this resource by either hitting enemies with his first ability or letting his maggots that he summons with his fourth ability kill enemies. However, even though his fourth ability generates this resource, it's also the one that uses it. And as a little cherry on top, if you have 10 or more points of this resource and you take lethal damage, instead of it killing you, it will consume 10 of this resource and keep you alive. And finally, it supposedly gives you plus 50 armor for each stack you have, so that would be 500 armor if you max it out. But since I was leveling Nidus in survival missions, by the time I got to 100 stacks, the enemies were much higher level, so I didn't really notice any difference. Now, Nidus' first ability will just cause him to stomp the ground and send out a line of damage that, as I've said already, generates his resource, but also does a decent amount of damage, which is modified by the amount of stacks that you have. And this gets kind of ridiculous once you hit 100 stacks, because I did a 45-minute survival versus the Grenier, and yes, versus armor targets, it wasn't that great. Versus alloy armor, I was doing somewhere around 3,000 to 4,000 damage. Versus ferrite armor, though, I was doing around 7,000 damage. And versus, like, the really low tier units, like shield lancers, this would do an absolute truck ton of damage. I think I hit a shield lancer for like 38k damage. And this was without a full build. I was still leveling Nidus, so I just had a couple of mods on him. So yes, this does an absolute truck ton of damage, but it is heavily reduced by armor. Nidus' second ability just adds a little bit of crowd control and allows you to pull enemies together to this sort of swarm of infesticos, so you can hit them with your first ability and get loads of stacks. His third ability costs one resource and tethers you to either an enemy, which will cause that enemy to take all the damage you take instead, or you can tether yourself to an ally, which will grant both of you a damage bonus. And his fourth ability costs 3 stacks, and it will cover an area in infestation and spawn a lot of maggots that will harass enemies. And I'm sorry for not covering these abilities more in depth, but I just wanted to give you a quick overview of Nidus so you can see what he's about, and of course I will do a full review of Nidus next week. I just want to play with Nidus for about a week before I say, yay or nay, but I have a good feeling it's gonna be a yay. Oh yeah, and by the way, Nidus already has an alternative helmet, which does not look as cool as the original one in my opinion. Next up, we have Hema, which is a primary burst rifle that has very high status and does raw viral damage. This is very good. Now, this weapon is pretty crazy, and I love it, because when you're reloading it, it will bite you and damage you, but in return, if you manage to hit a headshot, it will heal you. And I am a big fan of weapons that reward good accuracy. Now, you get the Hema from the infested lab in your dojo if your clan has it researched, and oh boy, the research requirements. My clan isn't the biggest size, I think it's the second biggest size, and we need 150,000 mutagen samples, 300,000 plastates, 1,350,000 nanospores, and 1,500 neurodes. Jesus Christ, that is a lot of stuff. And the second weapon that we got is the Haruto, I don't know how to pronounce that, which is a sparring weapon, which is something that we didn't get in quite some time. And it does primarily puncture damage with a decent 15% critical chance and a really good 300% multiplier. Now, the special mechanic on this one is pretty insane because it gives you health on crits. So if you set this up with a Blood Rush body count Berserker build, you are pretty much immortal on a tanky frame. And the blueprint for it is available in the market. The blueprint itself costs 15,000 credits, and to build it you will need additional 30,000 credits, the Kogake, 3 nitron extract, 1100 plastates, and 4,600 nanospores. And once again, you can expect a proper full-length video for both weapons next week. Then we got a new endless mission mode, which is the Infested Salvage and can be found on Eris. Now, honestly, I haven't played this mission mode enough to kind of form an opinion, but one thing that I did notice was that the map doesn't seem to be very well optimized, because while I was playing, the frame rate was all over the place. It's an interesting idea, though. It's a corpus ship that has been recently overrun by infestation, and there are still some consoles that can be salvaged, which is what Lotus is trying to do, while you are killing loads of infested, and they drop a resource that you have to spread in between the 3 consoles to protect them. Next up, we have Riven Mods. So DE added Riven Mods for secondary weapons, but also shotguns, because as we all know, shotguns needed a buff in the form of Riven Mods because they don't do enough damage? What? Now, these are not quite the same as the primary Rivens because both the shotgun and the secondary Rivens only cost about 2,500 endo to max and only drain 14 capacity at maximum rank, not 18 like the primary ones. And as far as I know, you just randomly get them from sorties. And finally, we also got a new Siandana called the Thorax Siandana, which I don't like the look of at all, so I won't be using it, but maybe it will fit one of your Warframes. I am, at the end of the day, pretty bad at fashion frame. And even though this is not everything that has come with this update, because there's been a lot of different changes and fixes, there's been a lot of changes, for example, to magazine sizes in Conclave, it's everything I'm going to talk about in this video today, because I just wanted to do a quick overview for the update so you know what it's about. So I thank you very much for watching, as always, and I will see you next time. Bye bye!